Of a German tourist in an apparent hijacking attempt in Mpumalanga is making headlines here and in Germany. The four tourists were travelling towards Numbi Gate in Kruger National Park on Monday afternoon when they were stopped by armed men who ordered them out of the car. It's understood the tourists locked the car and tried to reverse away when the driver was shot. Absolutely horrific news and a real tragedy for the family of the slain man, but also likely to have an impact on our tourism industry, struggling to recover from the pandemic lockdowns. Well, I'm joined now by Tourism Business Council CEO Tshifhiwa Tshivhengwa. Tshifhiwa, thank you so much for joining us. And I know that you've just been to the site and spoken to a lot of very high-profile people involved in this case. What can you tell us about it?
Well, I think first of all, condolences to the family that has been affected by this tragedy. And I think it's a sad day for tourism when we have, such kind of barbaric acts, perpetrated against these tourists, whether they were coming from Germany or South Africa or wherever. Any kind of action like this taken against tourists impacts, our industry. And that's why we're saying, first of all, condolences to the family. Yes, I was indeed in Mpumalanga, just got back now. We, went through the scene of the accident, and we went through where the family is to make sure that they're getting, all the help that they need to cope through this traumatic, experience. So everything from that point of view is being done. And I think that this stretch of road has been identified as big problematic. We, as the Tourism Business Council, together with the Kruger Law Chamber of Commerce and Tourism, we have put measures in place by way of deploying a private security company to patrol that particular area to make sure that tourists can be able to travel safely. Of course, yesterday, I'm sure, they have been watching, the movements of the security vehicle, although they are not random movements. But what happened, ended up to the situation that we have, on our hands. And indeed, it has impacted tourism. It will continue to impact tourism. But we have put together measures or additional measures in that particular area to address the situation. And hence, we were on the ground with the police commissioner, the brigadiers, other stakeholders from the community, and of course, officials from Mpumalanga Tourism, and others who are involved in tourism, business people that are in tourism, to make sure that we're reinforced in that particular area. And we have agreed on various measures that we're going to be putting in place.
So let's get to those measures now then. You've mentioned now that you had already put private security patrols along Numbi Road because you know it's a dangerous road. Clearly, as you say, they were monitored, and these suspected hijackers made their move when they realized the security were not around. What are these extra measures being considered now?
Well, there's a particular point on the road where, I have, witnessed today where there are speed humps that are man-made. You can see that they were not made from the municipality. So the municipality needs to come on board and really remove those speed humps that are there. And that's where these incidents usually take place, when people slow down. So we need to make sure that we remove those. We put other measures in place. Number two, the brigadier and the police commissioner, they've agreed that there has to be some sort of a satellite or movable contact center that the police are going to be putting in that particular area to make sure that there's more visibility. And then from the private sector side, we've identified that we need to put more cameras in that particular stretch of road, and also we may need to put one more vehicle that will be stationed until the speed bumps are removed to make sure that there's full visibility, because it's a huge stretch of road. And we need to make sure that, when we, patrol, we have some sort of stationary vehicles and boots on the ground to make sure that we address the issue. And of course, the most important thing is to make sure that the communities in that particular area gets to see the benefits of tourism in Numbi and the surrounding area, and also get to participate in tourism. It's only by making sure that we provide economic opportunities that the communities will also feel involved, and they will identify those that have perpetrated this type of crimes. So we need to make sure that it's an inclusive way of dealing with the situation, to make sure that we don't address the aftermath, but we deal with the situation in a preventative way, to ensure that those that are living in that particular area benefit from tourism, and the entrepreneurs that in that particular area benefit, young people benefit, and everyone works together, for the good of tourism in that particular area.
It's such a critically important point that you make. It's all more tragic that you had tried to be proactive, that there was private security patrols on this road, but unfortunately at the end of the day it wasn't enough. I wonder if you can tell us, I know that at this point we don't yet have the identity of the murdered German man. From what we understand, was he the driver?
Well, those details, will be, revealed by the authorities. What I can say is that, what we do know and what we have seen is that the family is devastated, of course, and this is not something that anyone who comes to our beautiful country wants to experience.
Yeah, of course.
And this does not happen in all parts of the country, and it doesn't happen often, even on that stretch of road. But I think that in whatever we do, we need to protect the family. We need to make sure that they receive all the help that they can get before any word in terms of identification is
of course.
done.
Quick question though, was it a man traveling with his family?
Well, I think those details again are going to be revealed.
All right.
The family, the embassy.
Yeah, the updates we've seen is that he was the driver, and I suppose I'm asking you this because the worry for a tourist will be, if I'm not doing anything particularly risky, am I going to be safe? Now, traveling on a road where there's private security guards, let's say you decide you want to do a self-drive to the game reserve. That doesn't seem like a risky thing. So my question to you is, was this family doing anything, in your view, that was particularly risky, that they would have been warned against?
No, not particularly. They were driving down a stretch of road that goes through the villages before you go to Numbi Gate. That stretch of road, spans, when you turn into the road that leads to Numbi, probably around a good 7 kilometers. And they were driving down in their speed humps. At the last speed humps, this is where this all happened, when they slowed down. And, we do believe that, they were probably followed, or they probably took the wrong way, and when they turn or do something, they were then followed. So I do think that they were not doing anything inside the Kruger National Park. So this happened outside of the Kruger National Park in the villages leading to Numbi Gate. That's why I mentioned that the speed humps, seem to be an issue, because we have asked for other speed humps on that particular stretch of road to be removed, and they were removed. And this is the last speed hump that needs to be removed, and we are engaging with the municipality to make sure that it is removed. So that seemed to be the problem. But the patrolling in that particular area is quite good. We had put 2 vehicles to do the patrol, and they go, around in random times of the day. However, yesterday, I'm sure that, those perpetrators have been watching probably the whole day or something like that. And this is, what led to this to happen. So that's why we're going to put more vehicles on the road to make sure that we manage the situation. And
absolutely.
The police presence is going to happen.
Yeah, and as you've explained so well, that there's a really proactive approach now, and that the first priority, of course, is this man's family, devastated, as one can understand. On a broader level, though, of course, and not to seem callous, but the reality is this is going to have an impact on our tourism reputation. First of all, how critical is the German tourism market to South Africa?
Well, it is critical. It's the largest source market outside of the African continent. We do have a good relationship with the German tour operators of the travel trade. We do have airlines that flies from Germany into South Africa, and we wanted to increase capacity. And recently we will be, in the next few weeks, we'll be receiving Eurowings going into Mpumalanga International Airport, coming directly from Germany. So it's very important. The German market is very important, and we've been trading with Germany for quite a number of years, as I've said. So it will have an impact. We just need to manage and make sure that the situation on the ground is conducive for travel, and we put more resources on the ground. And again, this is not unique to South Africa. These type of things happen to many countries around the world. However, we do know that in South Africa, we've got a particular challenge broadly when it comes to issues of crime. And we need to address this at the highest level in this country to make sure that both South Africans and the guests that are coming into South Africa feel safe when they travel their own country. I think it's that important. If we want to impact the economy positively, issues of safety and security, and I'm sure other industries will say the same thing, they need to be addressed. We need to make sure that situation is conducive on the ground, and we need to make sure that our communities are safe and our citizens are safe before we can guarantee the safety to the tourists.
Yeah, absolutely. Is it possible to say whether foreign cancellations for visits have already begun? Is the impact immediate? How do you discover what impact it has?
Well, we will be quantifying, those figures in the coming days to see what has been the impact on the basis of what has happened. But we will also work with many trade partners on the ground from many different countries to make sure that they understand that this type of situation can happen in any country in the world when tourists are traveling. And also we do make sure that we do provide some information on what we are doing on the ground. And also to make sure that there is an understanding that this situation is happening at a particular area. It's not the whole country. Absolutely. It's not happening in Cape Town, or in Joburg, in Durban. It's happening at that stretch of the road, not even in the entire Mpumalanga province. So we just need to make sure that we provide enough information to our trade counterparts so that when they send people here to us, we can be able to tell them and say, this is what we're doing on that stretch of the road. Yeah. What we cannot do is to label the stretch of road and say that people should not travel there. We cannot have a situation where the industry is deterred to flourish on the basis of criminal activities.
Yeah, then things are really going very, very wrong. We had the German ambassador on eNCA earlier. He said that obviously they have to look at their travel advisories. Do you know if they've changed their travel advisories since this horrific incident?
So far, I believe that they have not changed. I haven't been reading a lot today because I've been on the ground. But I do think that we need to look at this as an isolated incident in that particular stretch of road. It doesn't impact in other areas of the country. And we will, request that, we sit down and show, the level of efforts that we're putting on that particular stretch of roads to make sure that, we all are comfortable when decisions are made. When it comes to travel advisories. It's important that we note that tourism is important in this country. And when one puts a travel advisory that deters tourists, it means that less and less people are going to be going back to work, as we deal with the tourism recovery. And also it means that we're not going to be creating new jobs. So it's important that if we want to reach our goal for 2030, which is 10.6 million tourists coming into the country, issues of safety and security is addressed so that we don't have these adverse travel advisories. So very important that we work together with our counterparts from all these embassies to make sure that this is prevented and they understand the efforts that are being put in place.
I know that this tourism season is, it's peak for domestic tourists, the December period, but also it's very attractive for foreign visitors. And you've said to me in previous interviews that it's that foreign money we desperately need to come into the country. How are we looking in terms of bookings ahead of the peak December season?
Well, what we have seen from the figures that we get to see is that things are looking positive. Since yesterday, when I look at the numbers, the trading figures are up. Domestic travel, has continues to rebound. Events continue to rebound. International travel continues to rebound, although at a slower pace. So things are looking positive. So that's why, this incident really, sets us back because we have to look back now and say, are we going to have massive cancellations or we're going to continue to manage the situation and control what we can control to make sure that, as many tourists as possible come into the country. We have seen many airlines returning into South Africa, adding capacity into South Africa from the North American markets, from the Middle East markets, really boosting our recovery. So we hope that continues. And we hope that as time goes and the more efforts we put on the ground to manage the security situation, the more tourists and trade partners can see that, there is efforts on the ground. And also, the efforts that we're putting on the ground, makes us comparable to many other countries that have similar challenges across the world.
Yeah, it's a very important point that you had already made efforts to keep that road safe. Now you're going to be increasing them. Thank you so much for chatting to us on what has been a very, very busy day. Really appreciate your time. Tourism Business Council CEO Tshifhiwa Tshivhengwa. And just to recap what he's saying is that this Numbi road is a road that they had already deployed private security on to keep it safe. It's a road leading to Numbi Gate, which is one of the Kruger National Park gates.